Public school employees who live outside the district may be able to send their kids to school tuition free, but not yet. That proposal was a 100% tuition waiver as an incentive for teachers to continue working in District 150. Currently, teachers living outside of the district pay a reduced fee of $5,000 per student, a 45% cut. But the Board of Education couldn't agree with a split 3-3 vote tonight, so the motion failed. They may take the issue up again at the next meeting in 2 weeks.